So today, ladies and gentlemen, this is the much anticipated podcast. A lot of requests over the last number of months, actually dating back a year. I've decided to break it into two parts because I think this player deserves it. One of the greatest skaters in the history of the NHL, a winner through and through. Never won the Stanley Cup, but came oh so close, and might have been a teammate of Bobby Orr for the whole career that he played in the NHL. Were it not for the Bruins deciding to take all people Barry Gibbs as their number one pick in 1966. This guy was taken second overall in the draft by the New York Rangers, started with them for a while until he was traded over to Boston, and Orr and him were finally together on a team like they should have had years ago. So today we have to talk about this guy. He's a legend, a Team Canada hero besides, one of the greatest people I've ever interviewed as a journalist, Brad Park. Now, Brad Park, 6 feet 190, born in Toronto, July 6, 1948. First game to major prominence in the Toronto Junior B system with the Toronto West Clayers of the OHA Junior B League, and he also played that season with Toronto Marlies of the OHA with 14 assists and 33 points. Now, throughout his Hall of Fame career, Park was often in the shadow of Orr. In any other era, Park would have been the best defenseman of his generation. However, he and Orr might have been Bruins teammates for many years, and Boston had used its number one overall pick on Park in 1966. He was clearly the top player available in that draft and was expected to be taken first. However, as Park explained in his autobiography, the Bruins organization ignored the advice of its own scouts to use their number one choice on Barry Gibbs, who was playing on a junior team sponsored by the Bruins. That team policy of favored Boston affiliate junior players cost the Bruins a chance to have Park and Orr together in their prime. And we talked about this with the Don Tannehill draft as well. Now, the Bruins eventually made up the mistake in a major trade that brought Park to Boston in November 75, but his time as Orr's teammate was limited to the 76 season, when Orr missed most of the year with injuries. Although he wasn't playing with Orr, Park went on to enjoy 8 big seasons with Boston. Now, career high, he won a Memorial Cup with Toronto in 1967 after being drafted. He was named to the OHA All-Star First Team with Toronto again in 1968. Now, here's where it gets quite interesting. He had every capability to run the Rangers offense when he arrived. Never played in the minor leagues besides the 17 games with the Buffalo Bisons in 1969. So after his last year with the Marlies, he moved up to, again, the New York Rangers, 26 points in 54 games his first season with 3 goals. But by 1970, tremendous numbers, ladies and gentlemen. 36 points in 60 games in 1970. 44 points in 68 games in 1971. And the finalists for the Rangers that year was pretty well mostly due to Park. He had 73 points in the regular season and 75 games with 24 goals and 11 points in the playoffs. But for the majority of the 1970s, he was just as good as any other defenseman in the NHL besides Bobby Orr when he was healthy. For many, his career season came in 1974 with 82 points in 78 games, including 25 goals. Now, his time, like I said, the time with the Rangers was, he became a marquee player in every level. He revolutionized with Orr the offensive defenseman. His offensive skills, stick handling, and pugnacity attract much attention from fans. Park and Orr occasionally fought each other on the ice, and fans and sports writers fueled their rivalry by making frequent comparisons, not least as the Rangers and Bruins were bitter opponents. Years afterward, Park remarked, "I saw no reason to be upset because I was rated second to Bobby Orr. After all, Orr not only was the top defenseman in the game, but he was considered the best player ever to put on a pair of skates. There was nothing insulting about being rated number 2 to such a superstar." Now, Park was eventually made the alternate captain of the Rangers and briefly served as their captain. In 72, despite the loss of leading scorer Jean Martel with a broken ankle, Park led his team to defeat the defending champion Canadiens in the first round of the playoffs. The Rangers eventually advanced to the finals, where he lost to Orr and the Bruins in 6 games. Park was also the runner-up for the Norris Trophy that year. Now, when the upstart WHA tried to lure Park away, the Rangers re-signed him to a $200,000 a year contract that made him briefly the highest paid player in the NHL. Now, he came to major prominence as well with the 72 Summit Series. With Orr unable to play due to injury, he emerged as a key contributor to Team Canada Series win over the Soviets, especially in the big wins in Russia, being named the MVP of the deciding Game 8 and best defenseman of the series. Now, after the opening 76 season, where his award start in 10 years, the Rangers began unloading its high-priced veterans. Park, along with John Rattel and Joe Zanussi, were traded to the Bruins in a November 7th, 75 blockbuster deal that also sent Phil Esposito and Carol Vadnais to the Rangers. The New York press and public had felt that Park, 27 at the time, overweight and was over the hill, as well as overpaid. It was facing unfavorable comparisons to Dennis Potvin. Now, the time with New York was quite interesting. He was the first Rangers defenseman to score a hat trick when he did it in a 6-1 win over Pittsburgh on December 12, 71. Scored another hat trick against Pittsburgh February 12, 72. He set a single-season record for defensemen for goals and assists in a season in 72. He also set a Rangers record for points by defensemen in one playoff year with 11. Now, he also set Rangers single-season records since broken for goals, assists, and points for a rear guard in 74. He set the Rangers record since broken for points by a defenseman in one playoff year with 12. Now, he became the first defenseman to lead the team in scoring with 82 points in 74, named the Rangers captain June 74. Now, he left the Rangers in 75 as the team's all-time leading scorer among defensemen with 95 goals, 283 assists, and 378 points, as well as the defensive playoff record leader of 12 goals, 32 assists, and 44 points. Of course, all these records were broken. Now, again, his debut for the Rangers came in against, of all teams, Oakland, October 23rd, 1968. Now, he was named in 73-74 for the Rangers. He was named the West Side Association Award, MVP, Boucher Trophy, Most Popular Player, Assist Leader, Points Leader, and Penalty Minutes Leader for 74. Rangers captain 75, and again until November 7th, 1975. The situation with the Rangers was also quite interesting because he suffered quite a few injuries as well. Now, prior to the WHA forming, there was rumor going around that he might get drafted a second time, this time by the WHA. And guess what? 6 years after he was drafted, the Ottawa Nationals took him in the first ever WHA draft in February 1972. Now, he also ran a hockey school with Ron Gilbert during his off seasons in his playing years in New York. And again, he became the first defenseman in NHL history to score 2 hat tricks in the same season. And again, he's also a 6-time runner-up for the Norris Trophy to set an NHL record that still stands. And he was very active as well with numerous events to help cerebral palsy patients during his playing days. Now, Rangers was kind of interesting as well. He was vice president of the NHLPA for 12 seasons, and he also co-wrote The Play the Man with Stan Fischler in 71. The tell-all book caused friction around the league since the behind the scenes took a look at his life and took some critical shots at other NHL players, including Esposito and Orr, with Orr's former teammate. So that's the first part of the Brad Park dual podcast. His time in New York. The next one we'll talk about his great time in Boston and the controversy about if he originated the term playoff beard. Kind of weird, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for listening to part 1. Stay tuned for part 2.